everyone. Welcome to Weekend Rental episode 116. We are your gaming and geek culture podcast. My name is Ryan. As always, I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
And Biff.
Hey, guys.
All right, very special episode. It's been long overdue. It used to be the staple. Every episode we did it. Buy, Rent, Burn. If you aren't familiar, you're a new listener to the podcast. What Buy, Rent, Burn is we pick a game generally for a given system. We each pick a title and we decide which of those three games we would personally buy, rent, or burn. And by burn, we mean light on fire. We went with shooters this go round for the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive. So we're going to talk about that right off the bat. I'm excited. It was good to do one again. We're going to talk about the games in no particular order, I guess. We went with Truxton. And I think I'm saying this right. Is it Gary's? Gary's? Is there a good way to say this?
I was going to say, if you could figure it out, let me know. Garius?
Yes. And then Lightning Force. Those are the three shooters. I don't want to start off with Truxton. There's a reason for that. I think all of us who have played it can kind of speak to why that would be. Let's go reverse order. Lightning Force up first. Initial thoughts. What did you guys think?
That was
amazing.
That was a pretty game. Like, the graphics are just amazing in that game.
Yeah. Background, foreground. So good.
I thought it was interesting, and I know we're supposed to talk about one game at a time, but the order I played them in, it was amazing the difference a year made. So it was like 1989, 1990, or 91, or 90, 91, 92, whatever it was. And so this Lightning Force was the last one.
Oh, really?
Like around 92. And so just to see how much it progressed from Truxton being kind of the first one and just progressing, it was leaps, and there's flaws for sure. There's flaws to the game, but man, beautiful game. Hard as nails. I'm
not going to lie. I did 3 continues off of that first, 30 seconds until I realized the whole capture mechanic to power up your ship. I couldn't get through that first wave of the thin ships. Like a Gradius, sort of I don't know how to describe them, but I was pissed. I was pissed at that game. I loved what I was seeing, and I was like, no, this thing sucks. And then I broke through that, and this became this thing's amazing. If I had a little less patience, I probably would have just instantly forgotten this game, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah. It's what I really loved about the game too is most shooters, when you die, you lose all your power-ups and all that. In this game, you can just bank your power-ups and use them when you want. Even if you die, you still have the cool special shots, unless they're replacing, your basic front and back ones. But yeah, I mean, it's really impressive, all the scrolling and stuff on that. And yeah, I don't know. It had probably the most slowdown out of all of them, but I could understand why with what they were trying to do. But
yeah, I'd say my biggest complaint with this one was it was probably easily the most graphically impressive, but I think it didn't have enough restraint for its own good. And that's where I kind of feel with this one, I feel like there was I don't know what stage you guys started on. It started on the water stage. That thing kind of becomes a nightmare. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And the sound design is good, not great. It's definitely Genesis. But I think that's kind of what made me maybe not appreciate this one as much as some of the others is it was pushing everything, but maybe to the detriment of the gameplay being forefront is kind of my overall takeaway.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think from an audio standpoint, the music itself was really good. The sound effects, like you said, I think they were kind of pushing, like trying to put as much as they could in. And especially when you'd get a power up and that Japanese voice would jump in.
Oh, so bad. Yes.
But then the reason it seemed like how they got it, all the music shuts off.
Yes.
In that moment. And so if it happens multiple times, like it just cuts in order for them to have that vocal track in.
Yeah.
And so that's weird, but very, I don't know, very shooter-esque anyways, because a lot of those Japanese shooters have those weird, like, you get a power up and they're like, hiya, or whatever. That was really racist.
It was very SNK, to be honest. Like, I really felt like they were chasing SNK on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. But visually, incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
stunning.
But yeah, the audio, they were pushing it. And for Genesis, I thought it sounded pretty good. I'm still surprised with all three of these games that they're on the Genesis. I never associate Genesis with shooters. I always picture sports games, essentially. And so that kind of blew my mind. Like, wow, there's a really solid shooter on the system.
Like, I will say, like, the sound design in all of these games is excellent. I will say this one blew out the sound more than the other two by far. Like, it had a very ambitious soundtrack, but it was like a little bit of moderation would have helped this thing not sound so like messy. And that's kind of how I feel like, again, about the whole thing is like, it was just so much that it damaged the overall product. I feel like.
Yeah. This was the only one that I wanted to see through the end. So I put Infinite Chips on, and it, like, at the end, it's just arcade level hard, where it's just like you die every 20 seconds, and it's one of those, like, it's amazing if anybody can actually pull that off without,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Without cheats.
And that startup screen, awesome.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
absolutely.
Like, it looks so good.
It's actually funny
That
between
Tribune.
like how close that startup screen is between this one and Gary's. Like, I like the first like 5 seconds. You're like, oh, they're very similar, but yeah.
I like how, like, when you get the options too, they also shoot out the power ups too. You don't see that in a lot of these type of games, and that's where I had the biggest slowdown. Is I had like the boomerang things or whatever on the options, and it was like 1,000 bullets on the screen at the same time. It was really running. It was really chugging like frame by frame. It was it was pretty cool.
Stack that with like 7 layers of parallax scrolling, and it slows down a little bit. Yeah. What do you guys want to talk about? Gary's or Glories or whatever next, because I feel like that's the next most comparable one, and that's the one that, like, I'd gotten these, like, they're so comparable that I'd gotten this backwards in my head. It was Gary's that really threw me off in the first 30 seconds. That was the one where I didn't understand the mechanics. It wasn't as straightforward. I didn't realize the whole capture to power up thing, and it felt super punishing, and I had to restart a lot until I got through it. I like the sound design in this one. Music-wise, probably the best. Visually, I don't know if it's my favorite, but everything is very distinct and very colorful. The background, the foreground is nice. I like that each stage progresses with like very short, like 40 to a minute and 30 long sections, and I don't know. It's a game that you start off thinking like, this is BS. And then, like, the longer you get into it, I found myself getting really sucked into.
I mean, how can you not with the cutscenes?
Oh God, they're so good, right? Yes.
Like, those are the things that just draw you in right away. Where
Anime chicks. Yes.
It's not your typical shooter. Most shooters, you just jump right into it. You're blowing things up and you're like, screw story. Don't even need that because I don't even know what's happening. And this, they're trying to build a story with it. They have the characters and they actually look phenomenal, I think, for Sega Genesis. And out of all the shooters, this is probably the most difficult, or I felt was the most challenging and unforgiving. And but yeah, like you said, the visuals were good. It was just the right amount where it wasn't pushing the game so hard or the hardware so hard where it almost sounded like sound was clipping, and it just didn't seem like it was pushing it to the limits as much.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated that. I really like, how shooters, especially like this bullet hell genre, if that's what you want to call it, it's hard to like pick up the bullets, with the enemies because they're flying everywhere, and sometimes they tend to blend into the background. This one, everything, like you said, was very distinguishable and made it, even though it's hard as nails, made you keep on playing it in a kind of infinite loop.
That's interesting, because I was having a harder time because every time you shot something, it would have the same type of explosion, like red and orange explosion off of it. And most of the bullets were also red and orange fire, so I was having trouble discerning which ones were bullets and which ones were me shooting something.
And I'm with you there. Like, at least during the opening segment, like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think like
you just close your eyes when you play it.
I
That's
think
what you have to do anyways.
Yeah. I think like what was the eye opener for me was like, there are some shooters that you play where if you die and fuck up, you might as well restart over. And once I realized that like this was that game, I was like, okay, I get it. Like I have to get in the Zen mode. I have to do the perfect run. And then like once you got there, I was like, I love this. Like each new area felt awesome. The new ships were crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I like the back and the foreground stuff. I do think like the initial like level of that, at least the first half of that initial level, is pretty messy. It's a bad introduction to a great shooter. But I think if you can push through that, I think maybe it's there to weed out people, right? Like, I don't know. It was good.
Yeah, I mean, that first part, you just like, this is just Gradius with
100%,
the capture stuff.
Oh yeah. Actually, there was a lot of that, like Gradius or Life Force in it, where you do have that precision flying, where you're going kind of in like these little sections. And so there were many times I was picturing like the walls cutting in, just like Life Force, where you're in this like human body or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so there you could definitely see that they're pulling elements from a lot of different great shooters, which is good.
Yeah.
If only we knew how to pronounce it.
Yeah. Well, it just got re-released. I think Limited Run put out a cartridge of this now.
Oh. Well, maybe we can catch it at the end of the year sale, so I can buy more games that they can ship to me that they haven't shipped to me yet that I bought
like next year sale, you mean?
Yeah.
Buy now, get it next year.
Yeah. Well, apparently, not apparently, but their end of the year sale, they have it on hand supposedly, but still waiting for my Scott Pilgrim. Thanks, Limited Run. But,
yeah.
I have no idea why when you just said apparently, like that kid came up in my mind from that Vine. Like apparently. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but kid keeps on singing apparently.
Apparently we got one more shooter left.
We sure do.
It's Truxton, which I think all of us probably have burned in our brains because of Classic Game Room, CGR, and Mark screaming Truxton. Yeah. God, that was a good channel before he went ballistic and hated the internet. But Truxton is the only vertical scrolling shooter we have here. I would argue that it's also the most traditional. Doesn't make it bad. But in the context of this buy, rent, burn, my opinion would be that it doesn't make it bad. However, it does make it familiar, graphically solid but uninspiring, sounds solid and uninspiring, and has a power-up system. I was going to say
sound is terrible.
Has a power-up system that I am familiar with and appreciate so much more on Blazing Lasers that as much as I think Truxton is a great game, it doesn't hang with this group. Like, these are all great games. It just doesn't hang.
No, I agree. So first off, this is the type of shooter I like. I like vertical shooters. I just prefer it, and so that stood out already when I'm lining up the two games. I know graphically it's not as great, not as sexy. In my mind, the sound sounded like PGA golf from the Sega Genesis, and it just seemed kind of odd and misplaced.
The heartbeat, yeah,
the heartbeat. But yeah, it is a familiar shooter, not overly difficult. Just simple, tight controls, very tight controls. And so I appreciated that. But again, you got to kind of look at, you're not comparing apples to apples, really, because this is something like one of the first shooters on it, 1989. And so they were doing the best that they could with what they knew at that time. And so I appreciate it. I actually really, really enjoyed it. Probably more so on the vertical side. The boss fights are really weak. They really overpower you, which is kind of fun in a way where you're just like, nothing can stop me now. And you throw like a couple of bombs or whatever, and it's over. And so I appreciate that part where you can sit down. It doesn't stress you out. It doesn't make you sweat out. Like, I don't know what's happening. It's very manageable.
Yeah. And it's crazy how many of these shooters have like the exact same power, almost to the color too. It's just like how much that transferred over. But yeah, it moves really solid, and you can play really fast and everything's predictable. It's not like you said, those like walls closing in on you just to be like, oh, F you, But yeah, you can tell it's definitely on the earlier side compared to the other ones for sure.
I feel like it's the most well known for some reason. I don't know. I really haven't heard of the other games. And so when you talk about shooters on the Genesis, like Truxton, I feel like always comes up where it's just a given, like that's the one. And I kind of wish people would mention the other ones just because they're ones I've never heard. But you're the Genesis guy, so you kind of know like if these are well known or.
Yeah, well, I think the Lightning Force one gets a little weird because it's actually Thunder Force 4. So there are other Thunder Force games. It's just I think that one got lost in the shuffle because they changed their name for whatever reason. But
because Thunder Force wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Well, do we rank them? Verdict time? It's gonna be a tough one.
This is tough.
Yeah.
This one's tough.
So let's go through. We're gonna go back to the top. We're gonna decide which one we would personally buy, rent, or burn. And we're gonna start off with Andy as we do.
Yeah, my buy is going to be Lightning Force. That might be one of my favorite Genesis games ever.
Okay.
It's something to behold. It's definitely something to be like show somebody that has never seen it.
Did you experience this as a kid?
No.
Okay.
I had no idea. I think I've played Thunder Force 2 or something like that before, but and maybe I've popped them in here and there, but I've never really done an extensive play on any of these really, and this one just blew me away. A lot of that stuff you look at and you're like, they told me that you couldn't do this on a Genesis. That's what everybody was like, oh, this Super Nintendo can do it, but Genesis can't. And it's like, here we are looking at something that should not be happening.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I didn't mention it when we were talking about it, but like I got to that water stage, that first one, like 5 seconds in, I was like, fuck mode 7. Like Genesis does, like, because it's so good. Like that scrolling is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, and it's just the most full featured one, I guess.
Sure.
Out of all of them that I liked. And I think my rent is going to be Truxton, just because, I really, like Biff, I really love the vertical shooters too. But it does have it's blazing lasers, it's Raiden, but super solid, even for how simple it is. It's tough. It's a great game, but it's just tough to compare it to these other two. But I'm probably going to burn
Gary
and Gary's. Yeah.
Gary's Kitchen.
Sorry, Gary. Gary's Kitchen.
Gary's Battle Tanks.
Battle Tanks.
Yeah. And not to say that it's a bad game, because I really like that game too. It's just,
yeah.
It was definitely the hardest one out of all of them, I would say, by far. And there wasn't anything in there that was really wanted me to be like, oh, I want to see the rest of this too much. I don't know.
Solid enough. Biff, how about you?
This is tough. I mean, they're all, I would say, solid games, and two of them are very similar as far as just like visual, audio, stuff like that. But I'm going to go with buying Lightning Force. Again, I think it's superior. I think the look was incredible. It was hard, but not unforgiving. Yeah, so that is going to be my buy. My rent, I'm perplexed. I think I'm going to go with Truxton as well. Again, that's a vertical shooter. I like it. It is a little bit easier than the other ones, so it's one that you don't have to think about a whole lot. You can sit down and play and get pretty good at it. And burning is such a strong word for this one, just because it's so good. But we're gonna burn Gary, I guess. It is difficult, but I feel bad saying that just because it's so good. They're all good. They're all winners in my book. Everybody gets a participation ribbon.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. I don't think, like, in the context of what we do here, that any of these games are bad. I think they're all exceptional. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to buy Gary's or Gary.
Gary's.
I thought the restraint in the visual department and then like the depth of field and like the graphics were a better presentation overall, and less obnoxious than some of the other picks. It's the most difficult, hands down, but like I found it the most rewarding as I continued to play it. So I liked that. I'm a sucker for blazing lasers, so Truxton gets my rent. It's a Genesis blazing lasers. I mean, it's arguably all around the weakest visual, audio, and control wise, but it's still like a super solid game. Loved it. And I'm going to burn Lightning Force, not because I think it's bad and that I didn't have fun with it. As you said, I like the power-up system. I love the option system. I love the ability to like flip through. I just think it's so garish in trying to push the system that it's like a detriment to the functionality of the game. And that it doesn't make it a bad game. It's still a fucking awesome game. But like it just takes away from like the gameplay a little bit too much for me to put it above the other two. But I love these all. They're great. I'd burn that one, but I'd pull it right back out of the fire and take their degree burns in my hand in a second. So.
Oh, wow. Well said. Are these expensive games? I didn't even look them up. Are they?
I think Truxton is like 50, 60, but I don't know about the other two.
Yeah, they're all kind of around that range, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good.
I mean, none of them are Biohazard Battle, but they're pretty good. Well, it's been a while since I've said it, but that's another buy, rent, burn in the books. So there we go.
That felt good.
God, it did. I really
did.
Not gonna
miss
lie.
By Rent Burn.
I loved playing some retro stuff. Maybe we do another one next episode or other.
Shooters are so nice too because like it's a known quantity for the most part of what you're getting into.
I agree. But you know what's not a known quantity of what you're getting into? Saturday morning all-star hits. Anybody watch it? I recommended it to a couple people. Anybody watch it?
No.
It's on the list, but my wife has the Witcher came out.
You should be done with that. There wasn't enough tits.
Oh, I thought you were calling your wife a witch. And I was like, the witch. And I was like, okay.
There was not enough boobs in The Witcher season 2.
I was like, I gotta leave.
So
this
one woman got
conversation.
impaled by a tree penis, but that wasn't enough. And I'm just kidding. It's gross. But it did. Watch the footage. Anyway, Saturday morning all-star hits or Smash is a Netflix series that if you were between the ages of 36 and probably 45, you owe it to yourself to watch this thing. They basically took the Saturday morning arcade block and turned it into like a parody of itself. And they did it with such care. It's all found footage. Like it looks like somebody's popping a recorded tape into a VCR. It's all 4x3. They've copped like all these great shows like Denver the Last Dinosaur. They spoof it. Care Bears spoof it. Bobby's World spoofed. Pro Stars, which we can get into. Pro Stars was the thing we watched in the show, right? Well, they spoof it in this series, and it's called Pro Bros, and it's about the less famous, less talented brothers of the famous athletes who are actually in the NBA. It's fucking hilarious, and they do this all with like, oh god, the care to this show is like unbelievable, and it's all super upbeat, but yet incredibly depressing. And you watch this thing, and they make fun of like He-Man and Thundercats, more importantly, and it progresses like it. I don't want to give away too much. I just want to rave about what a must-watch this is, because it starts off as one thing. Like you think you've watched like 2 or 3 episodes and you understand this show, but then it takes this arc that carries you exactly through our youth, where it spins off into Nickelodeon. It spins off into the war against drugs and Reaganomics. It spins off into the OJ chase, fucking Dateline. Like, I don't want to give away too much, but like, God, it was like everything you remember from like a couch kid catching cable as you grew up. And it is hilarious. It's great. Like,
so is it like purely living in those times, or are they trying to take those old things and like make jokes, references to today?
No, they really try not to make jokes to today. Like it's contextualizing and making fun of everything that you remember from your youth and like sort of adult swimming it, but not getting to like the absurdity and the foulness. Like it's still very much adult. But like, yeah, they basically take the arc of like Saturday morning cartoons from about 1986, and then it arcs and ends with the creation of MTV and the birth of VJs. Is like, I don't want to say too much because you guys need to watch it, and everyone who hasn't seen this needs to experience it. But I've never watched a show that was more 100% made for me. I watched it twice through in like a 3-day period. There's about 8 episodes. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because like I think early Robot Chicken was kind of doing that same type of thing.
Yeah.
For me, but then they started getting into, like newer stuff, and then they would like mix in like newer references and newer people, and it just
this is so incredibly concise and like of the time and of our childhoods that like, God, it's like this incredible time capsule. So it's very Zuzzy Zazz, which you'll find out. So if you don't zuzz, you don't. If you have to zuzz, you can't zazz. That's
can't zazz,
right?
Huh.
Watch it.
I'm kind of excited now that I kind of want to watch it.
Yes, please stick with it. Like you're gonna. I urge everyone who hasn't seen this and is listening, like, you're gonna think you get it. You most certainly don't. See it through. Like, it really goes places in a way that I don't want to spoil, but was great. So 60 minutes, Dateline. It's everything. It's like, I wish there would have been a Rescue 911 parody in there.
Oh my gosh.
That would have been like the icing on the cake, but maybe there's a season 2. We'll see. So.
My wife started watching a show. Well, I guess not recently, but has been watching. It's called 911.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's like any police show nowadays, or
not Reno 911.
No, not Reno 911. I think it's just called 911. And I was like, oh my gosh, Rescue 911. Let's sit down and watch it. And she's like, yeah, it's so good. And I sat down. I'm like, oh, this is a TV show. She's like, yeah, isn't it good? I'm like, nah, I'm done. So I left the couch. I was over it.
My wife watches that one too, and it's like, it just annoys the hell out of me because they make the most ridiculous like situations that a 911 call would be, and it's just so unbelievable. And they try and pass it off like these are real people doing this. It's like, oh,
so it's not like based on reality. It's not like reenactments.
No, it's just it's all scripted. It's yeah.
That's
and then
part
they
of the
all,
joy of their original Rescue 911, right?
Exactly.
It's basically Grey's Anatomy, but cops and firefighters and stuff.
Right.
Which, just to go down a quick path on those, so spending, Christmas Day kind of chilling at home, doing that. My wife was watching a couple of those shows. How many times do these like police officers on like Chicago Med PD, whatever it is, how many times do they get shot? And like, how many times like are people shooting at them? Well, like, that's not real life.
About as many times as they fuck, which is every day, apparently.
Every episode. Yeah, it just blows me away where I'm like, this is not even realistic.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
A cop can't deal with that much issues.
So speaking of dealing with issues, like, I know you didn't put it on the outline, but I'm waiting for it. I urge you to do it. Firewatch. I want to hear the breakdown. What
you chase those teens?
What'd you think? Was it the experience I sold it to be? You go.
All right. So sit back, guys. Buckle in.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a journey.
I got some text, so I have a little bit of a clue, but
okay. So Firewatch. This is my first experience playing Firewatch. I had no idea what to expect. You told me nothing. You said
I just said play it one sitting was my only recommendation.
Don't get up and move. Just play the game. It's 4 hours, 5 hours long, and just sit back. And so the first 20 minutes is just taking you through this like roller coaster of, okay, you meet this girl, you hang out. How many kids do you want? What kind of dog? And so I'm playing the game as, okay, decisions matter. And so this is going to determine what kind of guy I'm going to be. Of course, I'm a good guy. That's my wife. But anyways, so I'm making all these decisions. Do you want to put her in a nursing home? Do you want to put your wife, or just take care of her? Or you want to go to the bar? How are you going to take care of your wife while she's sleeping? And you want to go to the bar. So all of these things are unfolding. And to fast forward all the way to the end and be like, oh, the decisions don't matter at all.
I think it's to put you in a frame of mind where you're disillusioned and hopeless is what it is doing.
So disappointing. And so there was many moments. So let's rewind a little bit. Become Firewatcher. You're up in the tower. I was like, oh, this is just kind of a Zen thing. And
so like a little bit of context, like you are a disillusioned husband whose wife is chronically ill, and you decide it'd be best for you to leave society and go out into the woods, work for the Forest Service, and man a remote, secluded fire tower. But go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to give all the details just in case someone wants to play, because I think it's important.
Context,
so, yes, the game has been around for a while. So you're this fire watcher. And so I didn't know what to do. And so I was just kind of like looking around, and all of a sudden this chick starts calling me up. And I personally was getting attached to this lady where I was like, she seems really nice. I'm having some issues. My wife doesn't even know me, and she's in Australia. We got a mess going on here. And so, just that whole thought, going through that. And then you're like, oh, how is this going to unfold? I'm going to meet this person. I'm going to find this person. And again, disappointment in the very end, where I was like, wait a second, you didn't wait for me like I asked you to, because my decisions don't matter.
I mean, without giving too much away, like it's that whole like vulnerability, betrayal, and then like crushing like emptiness. I think that like makes that. I think it makes it something that only could exist in that exact medium. And I think that like when you sit back and think about it, when you're done with it, regardless of how you walk away, because like I'm with you, like I get what you're feeling. Like I think that's like, wow, that was special, right?
Yeah. You're looking for the happy ending. I think that's just how we're conditioned.
Yeah.
That you're going to go through all this bad stuff. You're going to be alone, and then something big's going to happen that's going to benefit you. And I think most games that we play have conditioned us. You traverse, do whatever, you beat the boss, you're victorious, you have the princess, etc. And so to have this game go the opposite direction of what you are anticipating, because you meet this girl and as you're like flirting with her or just talking with her, you're like, oh, I know where this is going to go now. We're going to meet up. It's going to be a happy ending story. Well, yeah, it just takes a turn where you're not expecting. And so like emotionally, not like I'm sitting in front of my TV just bawling, but I was like, wait a second. No, I feel worse. I don't feel good. Like you become this character in a way.
Well, and you almost second guess everything because like
right.
The whole narrative is audio. Like, did it really happen? Like, was it in your head? Like,
yeah.
Right.
Was I even here?
Ooh.
Am I the person
deep.
who's in Australia? You don't know, right?
Right.
Was it
visually? It's a basic game, visually, but the way you can definitely tell they didn't have a big budget because they could only create one character, and
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that they could tell a story.
Mhm.
Like that was incredible. So as soon as the story started, they get you sucked in, and you don't care about the graphics. You don't care about, like what you're doing. Well, I'm just walking around opening these cash boxes and dealing with drunk teenage girls. Like you just don't care about that. You just want to keep on traversing. And I found myself like just wanting to talk to the girl in the tower, which sounds really weird now that I say that out loud. But it was, I agree. It was an experience that I'm really glad that I played. I'm bummed how it went, but still glad it went that way, I guess, if that makes sense, just because it's unpredictable for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you guys are really talking about that aspect of the game, of the girl in the tower and everything. And yeah, I got that part, but the part that really stuck with me was just like the mystery of the other stuff that was going on.
Sure.
And then they're building up this mystery to be just this one huge thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And then you find out and you're just like, oh. And that just kind of like, it soured the whole thing a little bit because they had such a big ramp and then they just kind of drop you.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like it's underwhelming and it also sours like the whole dynamic on you, but it also like, I think in doing that, it also grounds it in reality, right? And like the human fragility, which is, I think, what it starts out trying to do. But
Yeah.
Like I totally get it. Like I was like, fuck that whole thing. Like, but I still loved it, right?
I just don't think they needed to keep ramping up the mystery as high as they did. If they would have just had a couple things that were like, oh, something weird's going on, and then drop it on there. But the places that they went, it was I
think some of that though too is like it's like your own thought process because of the medium, right? Like I think like they made a decision that like I am playing a video game, therefore it must go here. And I feel like the fact that they pulled it back and like restrained it and put it in reality sort of makes it like the unique thing that it is. But ultimately, it doesn't reach we're so used to the climactic otherworldly or bigger than life thing to like go up against or battle or solve that in the context of a video game. Yeah, it is jarring and a little bit disappointing. I agree.
I think that, I mean, there were many times that I was playing just to add to what you're saying, that you're like, what is this? This has got to be big, you know, like you get to the firefighters are not at the camp and you're like, well, what the heck? Where did they go? And you're building this, like, there's something bigger happening. There's some government cover up thing or whatever.
That's exactly what you expect.
Someone's listening to our conversation. Why are they listening? What's going on? And then you get to the radio tower area. And then that was another thing that I was like, oh, something's going to unfold. And it just kept on like taking you to the next place. And then you're like, oh, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And so, yeah, that expectation of like something big's going to happen. And when you look at the whole layout of the game, it doesn't even matter. You know, the decisions that you're making doesn't even matter. The mystery really doesn't even matter. It doesn't like add to the story anymore. I believe that the story is just between you and the other fire tower watch lady. And that's all that matters.
If she exists. Yeah.
If she even exists. Yeah. And so it's those things that, that blew my mind on like a deep level where it's like, none of it matters. It doesn't even matter. And so the one thing that matters, you don't get. And so, yeah, it's just super bizarre.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about those questions at the beginning. Do they end up doing anything in the game?
I think no, I don't think so. I think they're to make you buy into your own morality, which I think is like what the whole experience is about.
I suppose because that's how you're. So it's basically,
how do you treat your wife? And then when it comes to this girl in the tower, do you flirt with her? Do you ignore her? Do you talk to her? And I was trying to play it like straight all the way, where I was like, no, I'm not going to talk to her. And then again, it doesn't matter because it's going to happen anyways. What she's going to say is going to happen regardless.
And like it's worth noting that like the actor, I forget his name. He was also in Mad Men, but like the voice acting in this is top tier. It is in my opinion, it's a game that like transcends like media and like format, and it's so well done, concise, and like there are flaws, like as Andy pointed out, there are major flaws, but like you can't go through this and walk away without like not having this thing have burned into your memory for some reason or another, whether it's positive or negative. And like that says a lot about Firewatch, I think.
Phenomenal game. Great topic.
I don't even know if it's a game, to be honest. It's an experience. It's like
it is.
It's a little more involved than like a Journey or Brothers, but like not much. It's just a narrative, right?
I'd like to find another game like that. I was already looking. Is there going to be a sequel? Is there something?
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah, that was like the last one I think I played like that, where I was like, holy shit, blew me away. But there will be something, right?
Oh, yeah.
A Way Out. Was that before or after?
After, but it did not blow me away.
That one did at the end.
It's pretty bad.
That was, I think, a good story.
It's got terrible gameplay though. Plus, it's like
Has a couple
4 hours
naked
too
guys.
long. Yeah.
If you're into that.
If you're into that. You know what Andy's into?
What's that?
Men. Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Oh gosh.
Let's hear it. You watched it, right?
Yeah.
So
Best
did
thing
I.
ever? Did you both?
Yeah.
Why? You don't like Spider-Man or movies or anything. Why did you go see this?
My daughter loves Spider-Man, and so
Have her watch The
My hands were
Amazing
tied.
or Into the Spider-Verse and call it good.
all right, Andy, your thoughts?
I think it sold me pretty hard on some nostalgia stuff that I didn't realize that I was that nostalgic for.
You were really into Tobey Maguire and you didn't know it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think I really cared about those movies as much as I did. But then seeing that again, it was like, oh, that's cool. The other guy I don't give a shit about. But
What's the other guy's name?
The guy who screwed up the trilogy because he blew off the head of Sony. I forget. Dipshit? Can we just call him Dipshit?
Sure.
yeah, but I thought it was pretty good. It's just one of those things like, okay, they kind of mined a nostalgia pretty hard
Tom
for
Holland,
something
right?
like this.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you mean the middle guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I can't think of his name, but
Because it doesn't matter.
yeah.
Justin Timberlake.
So, I mean, sorry for spoiling it. I think that's a lot of people know at this point that they're in there.
Yeah.
I was spoiled by
What?
my Google Assistant
That bitch.
about it. So,
Well, at least she didn't
Yeah.
tell you to stick a penny in like the light socket or whatever. Like
Yeah,
Oh my
Alexa
exactly.
does,
gosh.
so,
Yeah.
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 but this is like one of those. It's just like one and done, and then you can't do anything else with that. You can't
Right.
do anything better with Spider-Man. You just kind of used up your token on that.
I mean,
But
it had to
it
be
was
like the
pretty good.
climax of like Sony partnering with like the Marvel Disney stuff, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
I
Is it-
hated it.
Is it the best Spider-Man thing you've seen though? Like, because I've heard from people who have seen all of them and like, it hasn't necessarily like top of the crown. Like, where does this fit for you?
I'd have to answer that 6 months from now, I think, because it's one of those things that I think was really good when you saw it. And then later you're going to be like, yeah, it wasn't that good. They just, pulled your heartstrings on a lot of other stuff.
Is
And,
it better than Into the Spider-Verse?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's just such a cool movie. That could be anything, and that would be an awesome movie.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a hard one to top because I am not a Marvel guy. I'm not a superhero guy. I'm not necessarily an animated film guy, but that did everything so exceptionally well that like I can't look at any of the other things that in that realm the same afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, I will probably see this, even though I've not seen. No, I saw Homecoming. Haven't seen the second one. So I'll probably watch this when it comes to, I assume, Disney at some point. After
I don't know. I think the Spider-Man ones aren't on there.
Really?
Yeah, because they're
No, I think they
The
are.
Free
Are
Guy
they?
even made it to Disney, and that had like some
Really?
weird contractual stuff. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm not
I'll
sure.
watch it at some point. It'll be like I'll probably buy the Blu-ray from Redbox for like $2.99 at some point. So
It's true.
Do you like the Marvel humor?
yeah,
Okay, that's a lot of that in this one. Where
yeah, I think I like it contextualized best in like. Again, Guardians is like my pinnacle because like I don't care about the superhero stuff, and Guardians is like
Sure.
so left field. But if it's in that realm, yeah, I'll get. I liked the what was the last one? Xiao Lang. That was good.
I
Chow
haven't even seen that
Chow
one yet.
Mein. That one's funny. It's on Disney. I liked that one. But again, I like it when I go in with no expectations, no idea who the character is, and like, yeah, it's a good, dumb, big, stupid box office movie. So I'll probably like this.
My experience is very different
Oh.
than Andrew's here.
Yes.
I hated it. I hated everything about it. And there's a moment that I may have to go back and watch it again just to confirm, did I really hate this, or was I angry because I was in a movie theater? I'm not really sure.
Also fair, yes.
Yeah. So here's my quibble with Spider-Man, and not Spider-Man in general, but the movies. So I think the Tobey Maguire should just be the Tobey Maguire stuff. The Justin Timberlake stuff, I don't even know. Justin Timberlake stuff should just be the Justin Timberlake stuff.
It's
okay?
Tom something, right?
Tom Holland,
Tom
new
Holland
guy.
is the kid one, yeah.
Is the new guy? What's the other guy? Okay.
Devon Sawa? I don't know. Gavin DeGraw?
It's going to bother me.
Andrew Garfield.
There
That's
you
what it
go,
is.
Garfield. Yeah,
Andrew
son of a bitch.
Andy.
We hate Garfields around here.
That's right. So I feel like the Tom Holland movies should be the Tom Holland movies. Now, when you're talking multiverse stuff, that pisses me off. Like, I hate it. It doesn't. I'm a realist. This is going to sound so stupid, but I'm a realist watching a Spider-Man movie and being like, wait a second.
Makes sense.
That's not possible, even though Spider-Man is not possible. But I just have a problem when movies try to pull the nostalgia strings so much where it's like, let's just bring this together, and they're interacting in this goofy way. And I'm like, no, this doesn't add anything to this trilogy that is supposed to be kind of its own thing. And so
but
I had a problem with it.
You got to wrap
It
your
really
head around
bugged
like
me.
the Hollywood mindset. Like, it is the ultimate payoff, because there are
they're
the original
making
trilogy
so much
fans.
money.
There's the middle duo fans. There's the Tom Holland fans. And they're like, we're getting all of them. Yeah, that's true. The middle two
I
sucked.
know. I get it. From a business standpoint, makes sense. From my mind, it doesn't make sense.
Mini rant. I had to listen to my nieces talk about how the middle two with Dippity Doo How were the best two. I was like, are you freaking special?
Dippity Doo.
And then my brother-in-law goes, have you seen the animated one? And they're like, I don't like animated movies. I was like, you need to watch Into the Spider-Verse, because it is the greatest Marvel / superhero movie. I don't care if you don't like animation or not. So yeah, that was end of side rant. People are crazy. But to my point, it does prove my point. It's like, you get everybody under one roof, like, you're guaranteed box office success, right?
But this new gen Marvel stuff has tied together
like
so
all Marvel
well.
stuff is like new gen, right? Or am I just so old that I feel like that?
I mean, the Captain Americas have tied in so well. Like, you have characters popping in from other movies, and you can watch them in a chronological order, which is pretty awesome, and it makes sense. And so that Tom Holland stuff makes sense until the end, until this recent movie where you're like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. Because you have like some of the, like, some universe here, some here, some here. Let's bring all of the villains together. You know, all of this stuff that I'm like,
yeah, but it doesn't have to make sense for you, because it validates the future of Marvel. They can spin anything into any alternate universe they ever want to forever.
Well,
Problem solved.
Let's just be done.
Problem
just
solved.
Be done. Make a good Spider movie and be done. And let's just lock it up and say, wow, that was great.
How about we chill the fuck out? Like, I don't need any more Marvel movies, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot.
It's too many. Iron Man
So
was
many.
great. Thor was kind of funny. Guardians of the Galaxy was okay, but like, I don't know. I am not the right audience for any of this. It's all disposable to me. That's going to probably piss a lot of people off, and I don't mean it to. Like, enjoy your quality superhero movie, like, great, but like, it doesn't. These aren't going in like my top 10 list of all time. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I do agree that they're getting really lazy with all this, where it's like multiverse stuff, just because we can use it to do whatever we want. We can make whatever we want. And I mean, it was already getting bad. Even this movie to start with, it's like, we need magic, so bring the magic guy in, and just we can do whatever we want with his magic, and then it's
multiverse is the new reboot, right? Like you don't have to wait as long. It shortens the reboot life cycle.
Right. We just get a new Captain America, right? From whatever. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was there a new Captain America in this movie? Yes?
No.
Okay.
But
okay. Yeah.
Somewhere in the timeline there is.
Somewhere.
Wow, I never knew I was so passionate about this.
I didn't know you watched movies. Good for you.
I don't. So, but apparently I guess I do. How do I catch them all? I have no idea.
You know what I got real passionate about again?
What?
Rocket League. Sideswipe. I found out there's a Rocket League. Psyonix put out a Rocket League 2D mobile game that is Rocket League on the phone, and it's 2 minutes long.
Just what
per
you
match.
need at work.
And during the holiday season, I mean, hopefully nobody's listening, but yes, it's good. I've been playing a lot of it. I'm level 26 already, so it's everything you love about Rocket League and hate about Rocket League all in one, but it's in the palm of your hand, and it's incredibly captivating. And
is it a paid app?
Nope, free, 100% free. Everything's free. The tier system's free. The seasonal stuff's free. It's awesome. Please sign up because I have no Epic account friends to play with on co-op. And the standard modes are 1v1 or 2v2 and then 2v basketball, but fuck basketball. Come on, let's be real. So
I'll play with you.
Yeah, I play a lot of 2v2 and I have no friends to play with. And it's a very good game. And it's exactly like Rocket League in the way that you log in one day and you go on like a just slam dunk, like burning through opponent's streak. And the next day you like drop down 4 tiers in like 3 games. And it's great.
Is it a lot more of a level playing field? Because I feel like Rocket League, once you mastered the controls or just just understood the controls, you were just way ahead of everybody.
No, yeah, it's exactly the same in the way that Rocket League is like to the point where you think you get it, you think you know the controls, then you find somebody who plays 100% different than you, and it's all over. Like I would say it's exactly spot on to like that experience. Huh. So I'll go some games where I'm just like crushing it, and then I get somebody who plays like they just play into the opposite of like every strategy I have, and I go like 0-8. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's really good though. Like I said, it's free. It's super addictive, and like in the 2-minute intervals, the matchmaking's quick. It's a great mobile game. Like put it on your phone, take a shit, play a game. It's good.
I just downloaded it.
Good.
Wow.
You'll have to add me as your Epic friend. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I will.
Epic friend.
So Santa Claus came to the Douglas house.
Oh, my son told me he wasn't real, but okay.
Oh, just in case.
Okay.
No. So I was walking around Best Buy, and it was one of those moments that as I was like looking at games, there was a guy unboxing like the Xbox One S or the Series S. Again, still don't know the names. We've been doing this for how long? A year or whatever, and still don't know the names of this. And so I was like, well, I haven't seen one. My son's been...
Did you get the Rocket League Fortnite combo?
I sure did.
Yeah, I almost bought that. So I'm almost with you in your Christmas experience, but go on.
Yeah, so it was that moment that my son's been playing, one of his friends over there, and he's like, it's great. It's fun. We have an Xbox One, but I was like, all right, we don't have a Christmas present for this guy.
Yeah.
We'll split it.
I'm sure the graphical update to Fortnite was worth the investment.
It's a half dad's, half his. And
okay.
So wrapped it up, and he unwrapped it. And it is depressing as kids get older. They get less excited about everything, and they're just like, "Hey, thanks." That's kind of where we were. So in this moment, I'm picturing how I opened up an NES in 1989, where I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
But you never had to open up a half-step console. It's not like you got like a 2600.2.
True. So he opened it up. He was like, "Hey, cool, thanks," and set it up. And to me, I'm like, it looks exactly like everything else. And my son was like, "This is so sweet, so sweet." I was like, it kind of looks the same. I'm really confused right now.
See, now like the benefit for you is you put the 1 and the S in like separate TVs and then 2 profiles. Now that's the benefit, right?
True.
Now you're playing like with power, like sit 10 feet away with HD TVs, 2 profiles. Like
we already do that with PS4 and Fortnite stuff.
I suppose Epic account, right? Like you can be in anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we jumped into the Series S and started downloading some of those games and not playing them on cloud. And
they run
so
good?
far it seems pretty fine. It's quiet. It's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Graphically looks almost identical. I was expecting something more.
No, it's funny because like I almost bought one too because I was walking through Walmart as we were Christmas shopping and they had like a shit ton of that bundle. And I was like, God, I could put that in my upstairs living room. It's like sleek. I could send it on end. It's like my Xbox like Game Pass machine. And then I was like, I got a PC. I got an Xbox One. Like I can move my Xbox One up here. And yeah. I don't think you made a bad purchase. Like that's a good buy. But
it's for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
okay. Wink, wink for him. That's why my name was on half of it because it was for him.
I haven't spent a lot of time with it. Anything that he's wanted to play, it's Fortnite, and I've been sitting on the PS4, and he's been over there, and like we're 10 feet away from each other playing.
It's hard to argue with a better designed Xbox One X that runs quieter, has a better controller. It's a good purchase, right?
Yeah, for that price, you can't really beat that.
Even if underwhelming, it's a good purchase.
Yeah. But even, I mean, I had the same response when I got the Series X. Is like when you get it, you're just like, I had the same reaction as your kid. You're like, thanks, Xbox.
Right.
It just wasn't all that exciting. But
right.
Yeah.
So now I can play optimized lawnmower simulator. So
here's a game I would not recommend.
The Gunk?
The Gunk.
All I've heard is like 7 people tell me that they call it soldiering, and it's been enough to make me not want to play it.
Oh,
I've never heard it.
See, that part didn't really bother me that bad or whatever, but this is the pedigree of the SteamWorld people. And I mean, SteamWorld Dig 2
is it the same group?
Yeah, I believe it's the same developer and everything.
Okay, so that's why it's gotten so much clout. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I mean, SteamWorld Dig 2 is maybe one of the best Metroidvanias out there, everything. So I was really excited that they were going to do something and, take it out of that universe and make it as something bigger or whatever. And I don't remember the last time I've actually finished a game and regretted doing it and just being like, that was not a great game.
And it's only like 4 hours long, right?
That's the only reason why I did it, because it was only 4 hours long. But man,
I'm glad we're having this conversation because I was going to install it and play it, but maybe I won't.
So it's not bad if you just go through it, just play the game 100%. But my type of thing is like, I got to get all of the upgrades and stuff. And the upgrades do absolutely nothing in this game. It's completely pointless to even worry about them. Like one of them is like, you can run a little bit faster, and then some of them are like, this tool that you'll never use because there's basically no combat in the game anyway. So it's, I don't know. And all the secrets and all the puzzles, like the really hard stuff is to find the materials that you use the materials for upgrades. So
it's more just like a walking simulator than anything because there's no real combat.
Yeah. I mean, I would actually play it that way. That would maybe be better to just do it that way, and not even like look at the collectibles and materials that you can do, because it's just not worth it. Even, I don't know. And it's got the same puzzles, even if it's 4 hours long. It's got the same puzzles over and over and over again. So
do you think it was a matter of them like not getting it finished due to like pandemic constraints, or like what?
I don't know. I mean, you built those worlds, like they had to have made the level design and everything. So it just seemed like. Do
you think they can do like the leap they did from like SteamWorld to like SteamWorld 2? Like where it's just like, here's this like interesting, but like uninspiring proof of concept, and like turn it into something great, or
maybe. But I mean, the whole upgrade stuff, either you have to scrap all that, which I think takes away a lot of the game. Because then it really is just like the most basic platformer you've ever played that you just occasionally vacuum up some gunk, which that's the other part where it's just like that. It was fulfilling a little bit at the beginning, but after that, it was just like, it's not that much fun. And they just threw it in like every 20 minutes to be like, remember, you gotta vacuum up the gunk.
So I was listening to the Kegcast. They were talking about how like, for what is essentially like a PG game, there's a lot of like shits and craps and stuff in it. And like what would have turned like an otherwise like family friendly game into like something that's definitely not. And then Cheapy's like, why didn't they just call it the shit?
Yeah.
It's like, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Cause it's like everything is colorful, and I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the art style looks almost reminds me of like a Psychonaut sort of vibe, right? But like, with Luigi's Mansion sprinkled in, like gameplay wise. But
there's a game called Journey to the Savage Planet, which is basically this game, but so much more fleshed out, so much more different biomes and cool stuff, better puzzles. Just like, it's a better game in every way than this.
So this is probably something where like, had it not dropped on Xbox Game Pass day one, nobody would probably even be talking about it.
Probably not. I don't know what the word is on it, like as far as reviews or anything, but I just can't imagine many people are that impressed with it.
I from what I've heard, because I've been meaning to play it, but I've heard several people's opinions, like it's sort of on par with you, where like it's worth your time in the sense that it's underdeveloped, underwhelming, and it's only 4 hours. But I think had it not been in those constraints, I don't think anyone would want to give it a wholehearted like pat on the back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it really is the SteamWorld people, that it's just knocked it down a peg where I'm just like, oh, well, it's not a for sure hit for me anymore,
Sure.
To try it out, but.
Well, maybe I'll still give it a go, but it's disappointing. I was looking forward to it to being like this cute little, like charming indie game, but It sounds like it's not that.
The other one I did really like, I haven't quite beat it yet, is There Is No Game. And I have it on PC because it was on Steam sale, I believe. But it's a point and click adventure game, but the whole premise is basically one big joke. And the game is actually trying to stop you from playing, saying like there's no game. And then you get sucked into a whole bunch of other versions of games
that aren't games.
That they are, but they're parodying it, pretty hard. I won't get into some of them because they get pretty funny and pretty crazy. But I'll give you one example that it was so funny because my kids did not understand it in the slightest, because it's a point and click adventure game. So it's, a lot of clicking around, trying to come up with ideas to, get in somewhere or fix a problem or whatever. And the second level is a parody of like LucasArts, like Monkey Island games. So you're like looking at a TV, and on the side they even have like the wheel, that you had to the anti-piracy like wheel from those games, and that. But at one point, you need to make a ice cream cone, and you get a a cone, and then you try and find it. You figure out a way to get a cherry by painting it red or whatever. And then couldn't figure out where to get ice cream. And eventually you get a hint about like, oh, you need snow. How about snow or something? So I'm trying to think. Finally came up with an idea. You turn around, look at the back of the TV, and you pull out the yellow cable on the TV.
Ah.
And the screen is just all static. So you scoop up the snow. And my kids just did not understand. They're like, what?
Of course not, right?
What does that mean? I don't get it.
It goes black.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a pretty funny moment where the kids did not understand the solution at all. But
I like it. Is that on anything else or is it just PC?
I think it just came to Switch recently, which it might be okay on there, but I don't know. On a gamepad, that might be kind of tricky.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that. I mean, well, at least with the Switch, you got the touch screen, right? So
yeah,
that's cool. I hadn't even heard of that one, so picked it up cheap, I assume.
Yep.
Nice. Yep. Well, my last topic that I wanted to touch on was, did either of you see this list? A television network in Japan polled 50,000 people, and it was to rank the 100 best console games of all time, according to Japan. And this is a wild fucking list that like really shows the disparity. It's basically like tactics RPGs, every Monster Hunter game ever, and then like a sprinkling of like Western developed and like popular titles. But like, I don't want to go into all of it, but I thought it'd be fun to like talk through like the top 20. Well, I'm going to go through 21 because I think 21 is interesting. So we'll just kind of go through this and we can kind of share our thoughts. But so starting at 21, according to Japan, greatest console games of all time, Splatoon.
Yeah.
Next one kind of makes me laugh because it's 20 and it's Minecraft, which is clearly a PC
game.
Yeah. 19, Suikoden 2. 18 is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And then we go into 17, which is the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Followed at 16 by Kingdom Hearts 2. 15 is Dragon Quest 4. 14 is Pokemon Sword and Shield. 13 blows my mind, Undertale. 12, I wholeheartedly support. This one happened in the US, Super Mario Kart. 11 is Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. 10, this makes me sad, Super Mario Brothers 3. 10 is Super Mario Brothers 3. 9 is Final Fantasy 10. 8 is Chrono Trigger. 7, Smash Brothers Ultimate. 6 is Dragon Quest 3. I can't believe this one. 5 is Splatoon 2. 4 is Animal Crossing New Horizon. 3 is Final Fantasy 7. 2 is Dragon Quest 5. And number 1 is Breath of the Wild.
Huh.
That's interesting. It's so funny, like their lists compared to our lists and how many RPGs are on their list compared to what we got over here.
And just how many.
Yeah, we have RPG lovers, but they never make like a top whatever list.
And just how many like
crazy
foundational games from like the 8 and 16-bit era that aren't in the top 15. I mean, the fact that the closest a Mario game gets is 10 is shocking to me.
Wow.
Especially in that region where that's where it all started.
Yeah. They put Tetris at 25.
Oh.
I mean, that's The Legend of Zelda is 50 fucking 2.
Wow. There's got to be some like recency bias on that with Animal Crossing and Splatoon 2 though. Like,
yeah, it's got to be, right? And the Monster Hunter love, which I get, but like, and it's funny too because like every Mother game is in this list in the top 100. Every Mother game. They put just a shot in the dark. Where do you guys think Super Mario World ranked in the list of 100?
40.
61.
97.
Oh my gosh.
They thought Romance of the Three Kingdoms was 96 and better than Super Mario World.
That's crazy.
Kirby Air Ride is fucking 70. Kirby Air Ride is on this list. Kirby Air Ride.
Wow. What is like, can you find the highest one that probably didn't have a Western release? Or are they pretty much all over here?
Let's see. So if we go back,
it's going to be one of those
did we get Mother 2?
Dating games.
Yeah, that was Earthbound.
Okay, that's true.
But
Apex,
so like Mother
Apex Legends makes this
games.
list.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. What's Momotaro Densetsu Showa Heisen Ryua Mo Taiban? Is that be 41?
Oh, yeah.
If that didn't get a Western release.
Yeah, that's
41.
Tetris too.
Could be Secret of Mana too, maybe. I don't know.
Tales of the Abyss. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, that was like a random PS2 one.
I think all of these made it over then, other than let's see, I'm trying to look. I think everything got a I love that Nobunaga's Ambition is on here. That's a head scratcher.
Really?
Yeah.
What number was that?
That was 78.
What?
Yeah, I think virtually everything came over to the West.
And Super Mario World is less than
Yeah,
Nabucco's.
76. So the only thing, so the only things that were lower on the list than Super Mario World are Persona 4, which I'd probably argue should be higher, Pokemon Platinum, and then Persona 3. Pretty much every Persona game made it.
I'm surprised that like Metal Gear 3 even was up that high.
Well, and Metal Gear Solid itself made it to 79, but yeah, to me, like the fact that 3 ranked higher than that, because like I would argue that most people would rank 3 behind 1, 2 behind the other 2, but yeah, it's just
3 might be my favorite, but it's so Americanized, you know,
right.
Or Russianized as well.
Well, and at that point you were used to it, right? Like you didn't have the surprise of like, holy shit, video games can do this, which Solid had, but
yeah.
Undertale at 13 though, because correct me if I'm wrong, but that started out on Steam, right? Undertale was a PC game, so it's like what are the qualifications of this list? Like if it ever came to a console, it's like I don't know. Undertale existed for years before that.
Yeah, I think, but it's like the same thing as like Splatoon and probably Animal Crossing. It hits that like cute Hello Kitty shit.
Sure.
That then people go crazy about over there, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Just a bonkers list, though. I looked at it and was like, wow. They put Okami at 29, though. It's up there.
Yeah. There's a lot of Japanese stuff in there for sure.
But did you expect Apex Legends at 30?
I have heard that that's like a really big battle royale game over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
I like that one. It's a very fun and good game, but it also makes me feel very bad about myself because I'm terrible. But
yeah,
I've won like 10 matches in that entire thing, and I played like 500. So.
I don't think I've won a single one.
Me neither.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the one I was the most engaged in.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to jump back into it?
I mean, I could try it. We're not going to win. I mean, it's Titanfall 2. Like, it plays great. Like, it's a great playing shooter. I just suck at it. I'd rather we jump into Infinite and just keep going.
Yeah.
Or Fortnite? Understandable.
Maybe.
Understandable.
Hey, I got one more great movie recommendation.
Oh
boy.
Yeah. So it might.
Well, if it's anything that ties in with your Spiderman, I'm not interested.
No, you'll like this one. This one is probably my new favorite Christmas movie. And I think it's getting crazily overlooked because it's only on HBO Max. It's
8-Bit Christmas?
8-Bit Christmas.
Damn,
Yes.
I want to see it so bad. Give me your login.
Yeah.
Give me your login.
So yeah.
Right now,
immediately,
over the podcast.
I'm going to log in and watch it.
So, it's like, it's kind of the same thing with Spider-Man. And even like the Saturday morning thing you were talking about, where it's so much of that nostalgia of, the late 80s, basically,
Nice.
early 90s. It is almost a beat for beat Christmas story, but instead of 50s, it's 80s.
It's okay if it's done right. I'm all for it.
Yeah. And that's what I think that's my favorite part about it, is like, you're watching the Christmas story, but it's so much more stuff that you can relate to. Whereas like Christmas Story is a lot less, just because of the age disparity. But this, I believe, even has a better ending than Christmas Story, at least to me.
I mean, they cut the head off a duck. I don't know.
Yeah. It's got a better message, I guess, at the end.
It's not as racist towards Asians.
I will say, yeah, that's true. I think the 8-bit stuff is a little overblown. Like, yeah, a lot of the movie is him trying to find an NES for Christmas, but there's way more to it than just that. Where it's not just like, oh, this is only a video game for nerds, which kind of scares, the person that sees 8-bit Christmas. They'll be like, I'm not going to watch that, where it's just a guy trying to find Nintendo. But it's an actual good movie, and there's it's just a feel-good movie.
Is it very kid-friendly, or is there jokes in there for the adults? Or
Yeah, I would say it's both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I've heard several people talk about it. I've wanted to watch it, but I guess I'll have to wait till it comes to something else or is on Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's gonna be criminally overlooked.
Will there be 24-hour movie marathons of it on TBS in 20 years?
No, definitely not. Probably no.
That's a bummer.
I don't know if they'll do that for Christmas Story either, because I think the farther you get away from that, that's even makes it worse. That is any Zoomers really like, well, what were the 50s like?
Well, they did it this year, and it saved my Christmas because I hid in the basement and watched it on loop. So,
yeah.
Well, I need to see it.
Yeah.
Other than Neil Patrick Harris, any celebrities in it, or that kind of it?
There's a couple guys David Cross is in there for a little bit. But other than that, it's mostly kids, following kids.
Nice.
But yeah, you can definitely, every little bit of that movie, you're like, yep, this is the same. This is what this is in the Christmas Story, and this is what this is in the Christmas Story. It's just almost a perfect analog. But they say it's based off of a book, but I don't believe them.
Yeah, what book? You all read 8-Bit Christmas? Oh yeah, every time. I read it every year to my kids. No, I want to see it though. That's awesome. They'll probably wait until like next Christmas to package it then and release it. It'll be like a Thanksgiving thing on Blu-ray, and yeah. I did hear that like Disney and HBO have like reached some sort of agreement where they're gonna like cross post stuff. So
really?
Maybe, who knows?
That would be cool.
Yeah, save me some money.
It's probably better than that new Home Alone movie that I haven't seen.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Ugh.
Is it?
It's pretty good if you took out the robbers and made like innocent parents become like horrible child abusers.
Well, that's what the first one kind of was.
Yeah, it's a little more fucked up. It's fine though. In the context of like all 5, I think, Home Alone movies, this is like top. This is the third best one. So
this is the top 5.
Yeah, watch it. Just don't expect much. It's got Buzz. Buzz is in it. Also, Buzz is in jail because he apparently choked and punched his girlfriend the other week. There was like a convention, and apparently they were drinking after convention when 2 fans came up to Buzz and girlfriend in bar. And I guess she gave 2 signed like autograph photos away to them for free which Buzz didn't like, and then he like choked a bitch.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, didn't end well for Buzz. Yeah.
Life of a famous person.
Well, he's
right?
44. Yeah. And apparently the $30 he would have gotten from those autographed photos was very important to him. Sorry, Buzz. You filthy animal.
Yeah.
Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof. That's what they should have said. Maybe that's what happened.
Yes.
I mean, how many things do you think he gets asked more? Can I have your autograph, or do you know Macaulay Culkin?
Probably, yes, that. It's definitely that. Not the autograph. It's funny.
Wow.
I think it's time to wrap it up.
It is. Friends, we appreciate you listening to our lovely, lovely podcast. I have a question. If you've been playing Firewatch or you have an experience different than mine, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure you send that to weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on our social media on Twitter, Facebook, not Instagram. We don't have that. Grindr? Do we have Grindr? Is that a thing?
Farmers only.
Sounds
also
good. Yeah, make sure you're following us on those as well. And you can find all things Weekend Rental at weekendpodcast.com. As always, friends, be kind. Rewind.
Shoot your eye out, kid.
This podcast is sponsored by Gary's. Thanks, Gary's.
Kevin!